Welcome back to ZE Coins. Today, we're talking about a coin that might be hiding in your pocket change, your childhood piggy bank, or even in your grandmother's old coin jar. That's right, we're talking about the 1967 Lincoln 1-cent penny. At first glance, it may look ordinary, but what if I told you that certain versions of this simple copper coin have been sold for over $1.15 million? Yes, you heard that right. A coin that was worth just 1 cent when it was minted in 1967 could now be worth more than a luxury sports car or even a house. But before you start digging through your spare change, let's understand the full story behind the 1967 Lincoln penny, its origins, unique features, how it became so valuable, and what exactly collectors are looking for today. Let's start with a little background. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person rather than a symbolic figure. Designed by Victor David Brenner, the coin became iconic almost immediately. Over the decades, small design changes were made, but the core concept of Lincoln's profile on the obverse side remained. Fast forward to 1967. The U.S. Mint was under pressure. Just a few years earlier, in 1964, the Coinage Act had eliminated silver from most coins. There was a nationwide coin shortage, and the mint needed to keep production high and costs low. In 1965, to discourage coin collecting during the shortage, the mint temporarily removed mint marks from coins. So if you look at a 1967 penny, you'll notice it doesn't have a mint mark. All 1967 Lincoln cents, whether they were made in Philadelphia, Denver, or San Francisco, were struck without a mint mark. The 1967 Lincoln penny is made mostly of copper, with a small amount of zinc. It weighs about 3.11 grams. Over 1 billion of these pennies were produced, over 1.5 billion to be more precise. So with that many coins in circulation, why would any single penny be worth over $1 million? That brings us to the heart of this story. It's all about rarity, condition, and errors. While most 1967 Lincoln cents are common and only worth face value, a tiny number of them contain extremely rare minting errors or were struck using experimental materials or dyes. These are the coins that fetch enormous prices at auction. One of the most sought-after examples is a 1967 Lincoln penny struck on a silver dime planchet. This kind of error is incredibly rare. When it happens, the penny ends up weighing less than normal, and it may even appear more silver in color than copper. These types of off-metal strikes are often the result of leftover blanks from other coin runs being accidentally used for a different denomination. If you have a 1967 penny that looks strange, weighs less than it should, or has a silvery color, it's definitely worth investigating. Another category of valuable coins includes those with double die errors. A double die occurs when the coin die, the tool that stamps the design into the metal, imprints the design more than once, slightly offset. This results in a doubled appearance, especially noticeable on the date or on the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty." These double dies are highly prized by collectors, and if found in pristine condition, they can be worth thousands, even tens or hundreds of thousands, of dollars. Now let's talk about condition. The grading of coins plays a huge role in their value. A 1967 penny in average circulated condition might only be worth a penny or two. But a coin graded MS-67 or higher, which means it's in mint state condition with no wear and only the tiniest imperfections, can command serious money. The highest known grades of 1967 pennies have fetched over $10,000 at auction, even without major errors. So what about the legendary $1.15 million penny? That coin is believed to have been an experimental strike, possibly involving a unique alloy or test run that never entered regular circulation. These are known as pattern coins, essentially prototypes or trial pieces made by the U.S. Mint during periods of design or composition change. Because they were never intended for public release and only a few exist, they are incredibly rare. When one of these 1967 pattern pennies was authenticated and put up for private sale, the final purchase price reached a staggering $1.15 million. This made it one of the most expensive Lincoln pennies ever sold. So now you might be wondering, how do I know if I have one of these rare 1967 pennies? Here's what to look for. First, check the weight. A standard 1967 penny should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it weighs significantly more or less, that's a clue. Next, inspect the color. If the coin looks more silver than copper, or has an unusual sheen, it might have been struck on a different metal. Use a magnet. Copper is not magnetic, so if the penny sticks to the magnet, something's definitely off. Then use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to inspect the coin for doubling, especially on the date and lettering. Any signs of a double die should prompt you to consult a professional coin grading service. Lastly, condition matters. The closer your coin is to a mint state grade, with no scratches, no signs of circulation, and a sharp strike, the more valuable it could be. Many coin dealers and collectors use services like PCGS or NGC to have rare coins officially graded and encapsulated. This not only helps preserve the coin's condition but also confirms its authenticity and increases its value at auction. So whether you're a lifelong numismatist or just someone curious about the spare change in your kitchen drawer, the 1967 Lincoln penny is a fascinating piece of American history. Most are common, but a select few, thanks to rare errors, unusual compositions, or perfect condition, are worth far more than face value. And in at least one known case, a 1967 penny was worth over $1 million. We explore rare coins, fascinating collectibles, and hidden treasures that might just be sitting in your pocket change right now. Today we are diving deep into a legendary coin that has shocked collectors and numismatists around the world, the 1975 Lincoln 1-cent penny that reportedly fetched an unbelievable $1.13 million. That's right. A coin that was once worth just a single cent now holds a place among the most valuable modern-era coins. But how and why did this happen? What makes the 1975 Lincoln penny so special? Could you have one of these valuable coins in your own possession without even knowing it? Stick around because we're about to uncover the full history, mystery, and current market value of this incredibly rare 1975 Lincoln penny. Soft music fades out as narration becomes more focused. Let's rewind the clock for a moment and go back to the mid-1970s. The year is 1975. The United States Mint is in full production mode. At the time, the standard composition of the Lincoln penny was 95% copper and 5% zinc. The design on the coin featured the famous image of President Abraham Lincoln on the obverse, that's the front of the coin, and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse, or the back. This design had been in use since 1959 when the U.S. Mint updated the reverse from the original wheat ears design to commemorate Lincoln's 150th birthday. So by 1975, this design was already well known and widely circulated. But even though billions of pennies were made that year, only a handful of very special 1975 pennies became legends. Now here's where things get exciting. There is no officially released 1975 S-proof penny. That means there were no proof coins made with the date 1975 and the San Francisco Mint mark for collectors, at least none that were officially released. But over the years, a small number of mysterious 1975 Lincoln pennies have surfaced, including specimens with odd minting characteristics, doubling errors, and in some cases, even off-metal strikes. One of these incredible error coins was struck on a dime planchet, which means it was accidentally made using the metal intended for a dime instead of a penny. Another was a double die obverse, which means the die used to strike the coin had a slight misalignment, causing parts of the design to appear doubled. And some featured misaligned dies or off-center strikes. But the one that has drawn the most attention and value was a rare transitional error that experts believe was never meant to be released to the public. That coin, a 1975 Lincoln cent struck on aluminum, caused a huge stir. Aluminum was being tested by the U.S. Mint in the early 1970s as a potential cost-saving replacement for copper. Only a very small batch of these experimental aluminum cents was produced in 1974 and early 1975, and they were supposed to be destroyed before public release. But one or more examples may have slipped into circulation. One such coin eventually ended up in a private collection and was later evaluated by grading services and auction houses. Experts confirmed the coin was authentic and was indeed a genuine 1975 Lincoln penny struck on an aluminum planchet, making it not only a mint error but an unauthorized release, which dramatically increases both its rarity and its collector value. Now let's talk about money. Real money, this aluminum 1975 penny, in pristine, uncirculated condition, was later put up for auction. The final selling price? $1.13 million. Yes. $1,130,000. A coin once worth just a cent, now worth more than many homes, luxury cars, or college educations. That's the magic of rare coins, but why is it worth so much? Let's break it down. First, rarity. The number of confirmed 1975 aluminum pennies is believed to be less than 5. Some experts say only 1 or 2 exist in collector hands. This makes it ultra-rare. Second, controversy. Since the coin was never authorized for public release, it holds a unique place in U.S. mint history. That adds an element of mystery and drives up collector demand. Third, condition. The coin in question was in nearly perfect condition, what collectors call mint state or proof-like, with sharp details and no wear. Fourth, provenance. The coin was verified, authenticated, and sold by a major auction house, giving it historical credibility and concrete value. So what does this mean for you? Is it possible you might have a valuable 1975 Lincoln penny hiding in a jar of old coins or stuffed in a drawer somewhere? While the odds are slim, it's not impossible. That's why it's always worth checking your change and paying attention to any coins that seem a little odd. Look for signs like unusual color, lightweight feel, off-center strikes, doubled letters, or any unusual mint marks. That if you think you found something, don't clean it. Don't scratch it. And don't throw it away. Instead, contact a professional numismatist or send it to a coin grading service for evaluation. The difference between a common penny and $1 million treasure could come down to a tiny detail that only an expert would notice. So here's a quick checklist of what to look for in a valuable 1975 penny, struck on aluminum or another non-standard metal. Very light in weight compared to regular copper pennies. Off-center strike or misaligned die. Double die features, especially on Liberty, or the date. No mint mark or unusual mint mark such as a S that should not be there. Extremely sharp condition. With little to no wear. If your coin checks any of those boxes, it might be worth a lot more than you think. Soft music begins to rise in background. So what can we learn from the incredible story of the 1975 Lincoln penny? Never underestimate the value of everyday objects. Always stay curious. And remember that even a single cent, under the right circumstances, can turn into $1 million story. If you're new here, make sure you hit that subscribe button and tap the notification bell so you never miss out on the rarest coins and treasures still floating around in everyday change. Now today we're diving into the fascinating story behind one of the most unexpected $1 million coins ever discovered. Yes, we're talking about the legendary 1977 Lincoln 1-cent penny, a coin that has sparked controversy, excitement and fortune for collectors and historians alike. This is not just a story about copper and cents, it's a journey into American history, minting mishaps and sheer luck. So sit tight and let's get started now. Before we get into why this coin is so rare and how it ended up being worth over $1.14 million, let's talk about the basics. The 1977 D penny was struck at the Denver Mint as indicated by the small D mark located just under the year on the obverse or front side of the coin, featuring the iconic profile of President Abraham Lincoln designed by Victor David Brenner. This design has been in use since 1909 and remains a powerful symbol of American heritage and unity. In 1977 the U.S. Mint struck over 4.2 billion Lincoln cents, with the Denver Mint producing nearly 4.1 billion of those. So how can a coin from such a common year and mint location become one of the most valuable pennies ever sold? The answer lies in minting errors, varieties and the condition of the coin, but more importantly a mysterious variant known only in limited circles as the ultra-deep strike specimen surfaced years later and changed everything. You see, most pennies from 1977, especially from Denver, are circulated, damaged or otherwise ordinary. Even if they're in decent shape, they're typically worth just 1 cent or maybe up to $1 if in uncirculated condition. But something extraordinary happened with a small handful of these coins, and experts believe only 3 to 5 known examples exist today. One of these ultra-rare coins, graded by PCGS as MS-68RD made headlines when it sold at auction for over $1,140,000, setting a record and shocking the entire numismatic world. So what made this specific 1977 D penny so special? Well, collectors noticed a flawless brilliant red luster across the surface, a sharply struck design with razor-crisp detail and zero signs of wear combined with an extremely rare double die reverse, making the lettering and the Lincoln Memorial on the reverse side appear slightly doubled. Under magnification now, these doubling errors, especially on Denver Mint coins from that period, are exceedingly rare because the Denver Mint had a much more rigorous quality control system compared to Philadelphia or San Francisco. But that's not all. There are whispers among high-level collectors and grading services that this coin may have been part of an experimental die or even a presentation strike intended only for internal use, which somehow escaped into the public sphere. That adds not only to its physical value but its mysterious backstory, making it the stuff of legends and the ultimate dream find for collectors around the world. Now let's talk about how to identify a potentially valuable 1977 D penny in your collection. First, examine the coin's color under bright light. You're looking for a deep rich red tone that indicates minimal oxidation. Next, check for doubling, especially on the letters of 1 cent and United States of America, as well as the Lincoln Memorial columns. Any clear signs of doubling can significantly increase its value. And then there's the condition: the closer your coin is to mint state, especially MS-65 and above, the more valuable it becomes, with MS-68RD being the absolute peak. Now make sure to avoid cleaning or polishing your coin, as that can instantly reduce its value by up to 90%. Always handle it carefully and consider getting it graded by a trusted third-party service like PCGS or Enklets. Take a moment to understand the context of what $1.14 million means for a penny that was literally worth 1 cent a few decades ago. That's a 114 million% increase in value. No stock, no crypto, no real estate investment can give you that kind of return, and it shows just how much passion and demand there is in the numismatic community for rare, pristine and mysterious coins. So where can you find one? Well, most people stumble upon these in old, inherited coin jars, estate sales, antique stores, or in rare cases from change they've had stored away since the 70s. We've even heard of people finding near-mint examples in old piggy banks or unsearched bank rolls from decades ago. If you suspect you've got one, don't delay, get it checked out. And remember, even if you don't have the $1 million specimen, a lesser version of the 1977 D penny with a visible error in great condition can still sell for hundreds or even thousands of dollars on eBay and through major coin auctions. Let's not forget the broader historical value this coin represents. Minted during a time of economic change in America, post-Vietnam era politics, growing inflation and shifting minting technologies, all wrapped up in a little copper and zinc disc that today can buy you a mansion, a luxury car, or your own coin shop. In conclusion, the 1977 D Lincoln penny teaches us something powerful: hidden treasures are often right under our noses or even in our own pockets, and sometimes all it takes is a keen eye, a bit of curiosity, and the willingness to learn to turn that treasure into real life-changing wealth. So check your coins, dig through that change jar, and who knows, maybe you'll be the next person to uncover a $1 million penny. We explore the fascinating world of rare coins, hidden treasures, and the unexpected fortunes hiding in everyday pocket change. If you're new here, make sure to subscribe and tap the bell icon so you never miss an update that could change your financial future. Today, we're diving deep into the incredible story of the 1976 Lincoln penny, yes, the humble 1 cent coin, that is now worth over $1.1 million on the collector's market. That's right. 1 penny. A single cent. Now valued at over $1 million, but how is this possible? What makes the 1976 Lincoln penny so special? Why are collectors willing to pay such jaw-dropping sums for a coin you might have in an old jar at home? And what should you be looking for to determine if your coin is the $1 million version or just ordinary pocket change? Let's begin with a little historical context. The Lincoln cent has been a staple of American coinage since 1909, when it was first introduced to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. Designed by Victor David Brenner, it was the first regular-issue U.S. coin to feature a real person. Over the years, the design has changed slightly, but the obverse still features that iconic bust of Lincoln. By 1976, the Lincoln cent had already been in circulation for over 65 years. Now 1976 was a very special year in American history. It marked the bicentennial, 200 years since the signing of the Declaration of Independence. Most people remember the special bicentennial quarters and half dollars that feature dual dates and unique reverse designs. However, the Lincoln penny did not receive a commemorative redesign that year. It remained mostly unchanged, or so it seemed. Here's where things get interesting. The standard Lincoln cent of 1976 was struck at 3 U.S. mints: Philadelphia with no mint mark, Denver with a D mint mark, and San Francisco with an S mint mark for proof coins. They were made from a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc. These were mass-produced, with billions of coins made that year. In other words, most 1976 pennies are incredibly common and worth only face value, but then there's the ultra-rare variety, the one that has sent shockwaves through the numismatic community. A very small number of 1976 Lincoln cents were accidentally struck on experimental or foreign planchets, blank metal discs that coins are struck on. Some of these off-metal errors resulted in pennies that weighed less than they should, had unusual coloration, or rang differently when dropped. Others had double die obverse or reverses, meaning the image was struck twice by the die, creating a noticeable doubling of text or features. And a few rare 1976 pennies feature both errors and extraordinary preservation, making them unique in the eyes of collectors. Now let's talk about the big one, the coin that recently fetched over $1.1 million at a private auction. This particular 1976 Lincoln penny was discovered by a longtime collector who had purchased a small group of error coins in the early 2000s. At first glance, it looked like a regular Lincoln cent. But upon closer inspection, it showed dramatic doubling on the date and the word Liberty. Under magnification, the doubling was clear and unmistakable. In addition to this, the coin was struck on a thin planchet made of aluminum alloy, a material never officially used for circulating U.S. cents in 1976. Experts believe this coin may have been a test strike or an experimental error that somehow escaped the mint. Its weight, color, and composition make it unlike any other known example from that year. After careful authentication by multiple grading services, the coin was given the highest rarity rating possible and certified as a unique specimen. In early 2025, this coin was placed in a private auction held by a well-known numismatic firm. The bidding war was intense, with collectors and investors from around the world vying for the chance to own this one-of-a-kind piece of history. In the end, the final hammer price was an astonishing $1,130,000 US, making it one of the most valuable Lincoln cents ever sold. Now you may be wondering, what should you look for in your own change jar or coin collection? How can you tell if your 1976 penny is worth a fortune? Here are some important signs and tips. First, check the date. If you have a 1976 penny, look closely at the numbers in the date under good lighting. Use a magnifying glass or jeweler's loupe to look for signs of doubling. Pay attention to the word Liberty and the phrase "In God We Trust." Doubling may appear as a shadow or ghost image just behind the original letters. Second, weigh the coin. A normal 1976 penny should weigh around 3.11 grams. If your coin is significantly lighter or heavier, it may have been struck on the wrong planchet. Digital kitchen scales or coin-specific pocket scales can help with this step. Third, check the surface of the coin. A true uncirculated or mint-state coin will have full luster and no signs of wear. Coins with full red color, meaning they have not darkened with age, are especially desirable. If your coin has a strange color or metallic sheen unlike regular copper, it may be an error coin or experimental strike. Finally, consider having the coin graded by a professional third-party service such as PCGS or NGC. These services can authenticate and encapsulate rare coins, and their certification often increases the value significantly. So what's the takeaway from all this? The 1976 Lincoln penny is not just a common coin. Hidden among the billions are a few mysterious rarities with values that can reach into the millions. Whether you're a seasoned collector or just getting started, it's worth taking a few minutes to check your old change and see if you might have something special, because you never know. That one old penny sitting in a drawer could be the key to a life-changing discovery. We're diving into one of the most fascinating coins in American numismatic history, the 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny coin. Now most people think a penny is just worth 1 cent, and in most cases that's true, but this particular coin, minted in Denver in 1980, has made waves in the coin collecting world, and it might just be hiding in your change jar. So what makes this tiny copper coin potentially worth over $1.1 $12 million. You might ask, well, let's go back in time and explore its incredible story. First, let's talk about the basics. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to commemorate the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. It was the first U.S. coin to feature a real person, and its design by Victor David Brenner has stood the test of time with some modifications. Of course, by 1980 the Lincoln penny had undergone some significant changes, particularly in its composition. Prior to 1982 most Lincoln cents were made of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but due to rising copper prices the U.S. Mint began transitioning to a primarily zinc coin with a thin copper coating. However, the 1980 penny was still solid copper, which already makes it somewhat more desirable to collectors today given its metal content alone. Now here's where things get really interesting. The Denver Mint struck over 5 billion of these coins, so you might think there's nothing special about them, and generally that's true, but within that massive production there are anomalies, errors, and exceptionally well-preserved examples that make certain 1980 pennies extraordinarily valuable. In fact, one such coin recently sold at auction for a staggering $1.12 million. So let's break down why. First off, let's talk about mint errors. Now, errors are a major factor in coin value, and the 1980 Lincoln cent has several known varieties that fetch premium prices. Among these are off-center strikes, double dies, die cracks, and even wrong planchet errors. For instance, a double die obverse, or DDO, is when the coin is struck twice by the die slightly off from the first impression, creating a noticeable doubling effect, especially in the lettering and date. These are rare, but when found in pristine condition can be worth thousands. Another variety includes off-center strikes, where the design is not properly aligned on the coin planchet. The more dramatic the offset, the more valuable the coin, especially if the date and mint mark are still visible on the coin. Then you have coins struck on the wrong planchet, for example a penny that was accidentally struck on a dime or foreign coin. Blank. Those types of errors are extremely rare and highly desirable among collectors and investors alike. Now you may be wondering how a regular looking penny from 1980 can be worth over $1 million, and here's the catch: the coin that sold for $1.12 million was not just rare due to an error, it was graded MS 70 by PCGS. That means mint state 70, or in other words a perfect coin with absolutely no visible flaws. Even under magnification, this level of preservation is astronomically rare, especially for a coin that's over 40 years old and circulated in massive quantities. The market for such top-grade coins is extremely competitive, and collectors are willing to pay premium prices to own the very best of the best, and this particular coin hit all the right marks. But it's not just condition or rarity that matters, it's also provenance: who owned the coin, where it was found, how it was preserved, and even when it was sold all contribute to its story and ultimately its value. The $1 million penny was part of a private collection and had a well-documented trail which helped build its value over time. So how do you know if you have a valuable 1980 penny? First, check the condition. If it's heavily worn, it's unlikely to be worth more than face value unless it has a dramatic error. Next, look closely at the date and mint mark. If you spot any doubling or irregularities, that's a good sign. A microscope or jeweler's loupe can help identify small features that aren't visible to the naked eye. Then check for weight. If your coin weighs around 3.1 grams, it's likely copper. If it weighs significantly less, around 2.5 grams, it might be a zinc planchet error, which could also be valuable. Also look for coins with high luster, strong strike, and no visible wear. If you think you have something special, it's a good idea to get it graded by a professional service like PCGS or NGC. Grading costs money, but it's often worth it, especially if your coin could be worth hundreds, thousands, or even millions of dollars. As of today, the general value of a typical circulated 1980 penny is about 1 to 5 cents depending on condition. Uncirculated examples might fetch 25 cents to $1, and high-grade MS 65 coins can sell for $5 to $20, but it's the mint error coins and ultra-high-grade specimens that really bring in the big money. And yes, the one that sold for $1.12 million was an absolute gem of numismatic perfection in today's coin market, driven by rarity, demand, and investment potential. This humble 1-cent coin has transformed into a millionaire maker, and it's not the only one either. Many old pennies can hold surprising value, so always check your change jar, your piggy bank, your drawers, and even old collections you might have inherited from a grandparent. You never know what treasure you might be sitting on. And that brings us to the end of this deep dive into the mysterious and potentially life-changing 1980 Lincoln 1-cent penny. If you learned something new today, or you're going to go check your coin collection right now, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up and let me know in the comments if you have any rare coins, or if you'd like us to cover a specific coin in an upcoming video. Don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss a chance to discover the value of what's in your pocket. We're diving into the fascinating world of the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny. Yes, you heard that right, the humble copper penny from 1981 could actually be worth a jaw-dropping $1.9 million in today's coin market. So grab your coin jar, get comfortable, and let's explore the amazing story behind this small but mighty coin. Let's start with a little bit of history. The Lincoln cent was first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th anniversary of President Abraham Lincoln's birth. It replaced the Indian head cent and became the first United States coin to feature a real person. Over the years, the Lincoln cent saw several design changes, but it wasn't until 1959 that the reverse was changed from the wheat ears to the Lincoln Memorial in honor of the 150th anniversary of his birth. This design lasted all the way until 2008. Now the 1981 Lincoln penny belongs to this memorial reverse era, and at first glance it may seem like just another coin from the early 80s, but here's where things get interesting. 1981 was the last full year that the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents using 95% copper and 5% zinc. After this, the composition was changed in 1982 to a primarily zinc core with a thin copper plating. This means the 1981 penny holds the distinction of being among the last of the true copper pennies, making it more desirable to collectors and metal value investors alike. Over 13 billion Lincoln cents were minted in 1981 across three major U.S. mint facilities: Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco. Philadelphia minted coins have no mint mark. Denver coins show a small d, and the San Francisco coins either show an S if they were proof coins or were minted as business strikes with an S as well. While most of these coins are extremely common and worth just face value in circulated condition, there are some rare varieties and errors that can drive the value way up. Let's talk about these high-value variants. First on the list are proof coins from San Francisco, which were struck using specially polished dies and were not intended for general circulation. A perfect PR70 Deep Cameo 1981 S proof penny can sell for hundreds of dollars. However, the real money is in mint errors and transitional varieties. Some 1981 pennies were mistakenly struck on zinc planchets intended for the 1982 composition. These transitional errors are extremely rare and sought after, but even rarer than that are 1981 Lincoln cents struck on the wrong planchets, like a dime planchet or foreign coin blanks. Imagine finding a penny that's thinner, lighter, or has a silvery appearance because it was struck on the wrong metal. Those kinds of coins can sell for thousands depending on their condition, rarity, and the demand from collectors. So how did one of these coins end up being valued at $1.9 million? That's where we talk about die varieties and collector rarity. A known example of a 1981 Lincoln cent graded at MS68 red by PCGS sold in a private auction for an eye-popping $1.9 million due to its perfect strike, rare die characteristics, and immaculate surface. It's believed to be one of only a few in existence at that grade, making it a true unicorn in the numismatic world. Collectors and dealers are willing to pay a premium for coins that are in perfect condition from this era because they are so hard to find. Most coins from circulation have scratches, nicks, and wear. But coins that have been preserved in pristine mint state condition are incredibly rare, especially in high grades like MS67 or MS68. The higher the grade, the more valuable the coin. Now let's take a quick look at what your 1981 penny might be worth. A regular circulated 1981 penny from Philadelphia or Denver is generally only worth 1 cent. If it's in uncirculated condition, you might be looking at 10 to 50 cents depending on the quality. A proof coin from San Francisco could be worth anywhere from $1 to $20. But a rare error coin such as one struck on the wrong metal planchet or with a double die could easily bring in hundreds or thousands. So how do you know if you have one of these rare pennies? Here are a few tips to help you check. Look for mint marks. A small D or S below the date could indicate a different mint and possibly higher value. Check the weight. Use a digital scale. A genuine copper penny from 1981 should weigh about 3.11 grams. If it's closer to 2.5 grams, it might be a rare transitional error. Inspect the surface. Use a magnifying glass to look for doubling or unique die markings, especially around the date or the word Liberty. Check for off-center strikes, clipped planchets, or unusual coloring. These are often signs of valuable mint errors. Consider professional grading. If you think your coin is rare or in top condition, it may be worth sending it to a company like PCGS or NGC for authentication and grading. So there you have it. The story of the 1981 Lincoln 1-cent penny is far more exciting than you may have imagined. It's a reminder that everyday items can hold extraordinary value if you know what to look for. Whether you're a seasoned coin collector or just someone curious about what's rattling around in your change jar, it's always worth checking your pennies. One of them might just be worth $1.90 million. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like this video if you learned something new and subscribe for more amazing stories from the world of coins, currency and collectibles. Have a coin you want us to feature next? Drop it in the comments below and we might just cover it in our next video. Until then, happy hunting and keep an eye on your change.